Hey guys, welcome to a new tutorial video. On this video, we'll be making this simple twist effect on a gown. So this twist effect, you can achieve it also on a top. Okay, so but for the purpose of this tutorial, I'll be making it on this gown. So this tutorial is going to be beginner friendly and very simple to understand. So guys, the first thing we are going to do is to draft out our basic gown bodies. Okay, so I'm going to measure my shoulder measurement, my shoulder slope, come down by 1 inch, connect it to my neckline, mark out my armhole length, then mark out my bust measurement, my waist measurement, my hip measurement. So for the back part of this gown, I'm going to just be cutting a simple straight gown. Okay, I'm just going to be cutting a simple straight gown. So, and I'm adding an allowance of 1.5 inch. So I marked out my bust measurement directly on my armhole line. Then I marked my half length or my half cut line from my shoulder to my half cut. On that line, I'm going to mark my waist circumference divided by 4 plus 1.5 inch allowance. Then from the half cut line, I'm going to measure the distance from my half cut, that's my waist, the distance from my waist to my hip, 9 inches. I marked it. Then I mark my hip circumference divided by 4 plus 1.5 inch allowance, and then I connected the lines like so. So first of all, I'm cutting the back part of this dress. So for the armhole, I marked out my armhole curve and then I connected it. So this is just the first thing you're going to do. This is how to draft a simple basic gown. Okay, so after drafting your simple basic gown, you cut it out. Then for the neck area, I dipped the neck by 1 inch deep. Okay, so this is the first step in achieving your twisted gown effect. Now for the purpose of this tutorial, I intentionally didn't want the back of this dress to have an half cut, but if you're making yours, if you want yours to have an half cut, it's still your preference. Okay, so it depends on your preference, what you want or what your client wants. But for the purpose of this tutorial, the back part of this gown doesn't have a half cut. Okay, so I'll just cut it out for you to see what we are doing, and then we're going to use these back gown bodies to draft out our front. Now this is the back part. Now to create our darts, you measure your nipple to nipple. If your nipple to nipple is 8, on your center point you mark 4. That's 8 divided by 2, that's 4. Then you come down 1 or 2 inches below your bust point. Then from that line, when you mark it, you mark 10 inches. Okay, and draw a straight line. Now when you first of all mark 1 inch or 2 inches below your bust point, you draw a line. Then from that line, you mark out 10 inches. When you mark 10 inches, you draw a straight line, and then that's going to be your dart leg for the back. Now, mind you that your dart is not supposed to touch your hip line. Okay? Your dart is not supposed to touch your hip line. That's why when you mark 1 inch below your bust point, then you mark 10 inches. If you mark 10 inches from there, the line is going to be directly 2 inches on top of your hip line, so it's not going to touch your hip measurements. Now for the front part, the first thing we're going to do is to draft out from our half length down to the complete part of your gown from your half length. Okay, so I just traced out from the half length down, cutting the front, because if you look at the front of what we are trying to make, the front has an half cut. Okay, so this is the bottom part of the front. I notched the midpoint, so it's just as if we're cutting a skirt for the front part. Now for the upper part, for the half length of our front, you place your back pattern on a pattern paper. You see that I'm using a pattern paper now, and then you extend it I extended mine by up to 11 inches from the center front. Can you see? I extended mine up to 11 inches. Can you see? And then I connected it from my shoulder line down to that 11 inches. I came up from my half length by 5 inch. Can you see? That's the wideness of the extra that I came out with. And then when I came up by 5 inch, I connected it to my shoulder line, like so. So this is how you are going to cut out your front parts of the upper bodies, because we are trying to create that wrap effect, you get? So when you're done, you cut it out. Now I'm cutting it on pattern paper because we are going to be transferring it on material, and if you're using a material that you're not sure if it will be enough for you, it's best you cut on pattern paper first, then you transfer to your material. Okay, so guys, please, if you've not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please click on the subscription button and subscribe. I upload new tutorials every day, and if you have any question on this particular tutorial or other tutorials or any style you want me to help out, just send me a message and I'll try my best to explain further. So guys, can you see, do you understand the cutting of this front pattern? You first of all place your back pattern on top of a pattern paper, then you extend the center front by 11 inches as I did here. When you extend it by 11 inches, then the width, the wideness should be 5 inches, and then you connect it to your shoulder point. Now it's time for me to cut it on my fabric. You see how I placed it on my fabric? So now I'm just going to trace it out and cut it out. Now I'm going to cut 2 pairs. So for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to mix and match this material. I'm going to use a different material so that we will see the effect well. You will see how I'm twisting it. And then secondly, please, if you want to first of all try this design, try it with a lycra material, a material that is very soft, so that it will be easy for you to sew it down. Okay, use either a very soft crepe, a very soft silk material, or very soft lycra. Any material that is soft, I will advise you use it. Okay, so now I'm just going to cut it out like so. I'm just tracing out the patterns on my main fabric. Okay, so when you cut it out, guys, please remember I added my allowance to this. Remember to add your sewing allowance and your turning allowances, please. That's very important, because if you don't add the allowance, that means you're going to be using the main what's this word, the main measurements for your clients, and it won't give you the exact fitting to your dress. Okay, so always add your allowance. So now I'm cutting the second part of this top part, and when I'm done, this is how it's going to look like. Can you see I'm using 2 different materials, just for beauty, just for creativity? So you can decide to use the same, depends on you. So now what you do now is to bias or fold in the upper part, that neck part. You're going to bias it. When you bias it, then you twist that extension, that's 11 inches extension that we did at the front part. You just twist it into the fabric like so, as if you're tying or knotting something down. Can you see how I twisted it? I just flipped it over and twisted it. So this is how it's going to look when you're done. The first thing you're going to do is just bias or fold in the neck part. So I'm done folding in the neck part. This is how it looks. Can you see? I used the bias for it. You can decide to use a lining if you want, but if you're not using a material that needs lining, you can just bias it or fold it in. All right, so when you're done, this is how it's going to look. Now make sure you notch the center front, that the center in which you started increasing the length of your front part, that from where you started that measuring your 11 inches longer, make sure you notch it. Okay, it's going to be a guiding force for you to know this is the center front of my top. Okay, so now I've twisted it. Can you see how I twisted it? Just be patient. I twisted it and fixed it inside. Can you see? So you twist it. Now you see the reason why I said you should use a very soft material. The material I used is a joggers material and it's thick. Okay, that's why it's taking time for me to arrange it. But if you use a soft material, it's going to be very simple and easy for you to just sew it down easily. It won't stress you that much. Okay, so can you see I've twisted it? I'm just trying to place it well, and then you're going to use your pin to pin it down. Okay, now when you pin it down, it's just going to just look straight. Then you match it down. You first of all twist it inwardly. Can you see? When you twist it inwardly, you use your pin to pin it down. Can you see how I'm doing? Then you pin it down. When you're done pinning it down, you match it down. You sew a straight line to just secure it. All right, so when you're done securing it, this is how it's going to look. Can you see? I'm just trying to fix it in very well to look good. Do you get? Before I now sew it down. So can you see? So you sew a straight line. That's the upper part of the front part. This is the main effect, the main twist effect. We've done it. Now to complete this gown, the next thing we're going to do, the skirt part of the front, we are going to draw our dart legs. When we draw our dart legs, then we're going to notch the center points and fix the half cut to the skirt part. So this is the skirt part. I'm going to mark out where I'm going to draw my dart legs. When I first of all draw my dart legs, then I'll join the skirt part to the half length of the front. Guys, please hope you understand the twisting of the upper part. Hope you understand it. So when we fix it, this is how it's going to look. So you just use your pin, the center front of the front and of the top and the center front of the skirt. All right, just the normal way we join our half cut to our skirt pattern. That's just it. But if you won't be making yours into a gown, then you're good to go. Just join your front and your back and you're good to go. Hope you understand this concept. So I'm going to just sew it. Can you see how it's looking? Can you see the effect? So I'm just going to join the half length and the skirt part, come back and show you how it will look. So I'm done joining it and this is how it looks. Can you see the whole twist effect? Can you see how beautiful it's looking? Look at the inner part. So we've secured it. So for some people that might think that it's going to lose out, no, it's not going to lose because we've secured it, we've sewed it down. Now the next thing we're going to do now is simple, just to join our front and back together. Now for the back, I've drawn my dart legs, I've biased the neck. The next thing is to join the shoulders, bias the armhole area, and then shape your gown, and your gown is good to go. Now for the purpose of this tutorial, please use a material that is stretchy because this gown doesn't have a zipper. So when you're done, your gown is ready. Thank you guys for watching and please like and subscribe. See you on my next tutorial. Bye.